Hello and welcome to Connections for Change. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Alexandra Kinloch, Director and Founder of the Inside Academy and member of Monash's Global Leaders Network Advisory Committee in the San Francisco Bay Area. Alexandra was awarded one of the top 50 Australian female entrepreneurs under 40. Her business focuses on executive leadership and business strategy, delivering small group coaching programs, masterminds, and one-to-one executive leadership development. We're really grateful to have Alexandra here today to respond to questions from the Monash alumni community on leadership, teams, and professional development, all of which are, of course, critical to the effective functioning of organisations generally, but certainly now during the current pandemic. Alexandra, thank you for joining us today. Why don't you start by telling us what have you seen from Silicon Valley leaders and teams in terms of how they're pivoting to the new normal?
Thanks, John. So a couple of things that I've been seeing. Firstly, of course, the working from home. So the challenges and the opportunities that brings with it. Secondly, just bringing more life into the work situation. So I've noticed a lot of the leaders that I'm working with being a lot more real with each other and just seeing a lot more vulnerability, having that increase, and that's actually really helping a lot of the relationships to flourish where once perhaps they might not have, which has been really interesting. And another thing that I'm noticing for some of the companies I'm working with is that some of them that I guess are kind of taking a brave leap and kind of on the front foot, I guess, where they're kind of looking as to where to invest next. So kind of looking at this as an opportunity to sort of look at what deals that they can buy or companies that they can work with and collaborate with during this pandemic to get ahead, but also to kind of help those companies that are in need as well. So that's been really interesting. And lastly, just a greater focus on people development is definitely something that I've seen a lot more of over the last couple of months.
Yeah, right. Well, Alexandra, alumni are interested to know what ways have executives had to adapt their leadership style in order to effectively manage in a new work environment?
So 4 things that I think are really important. So one is to be flexible. So, I've seen, and I'm sure we all have, that we need to be more flexible with the times of day that we're working. Some people have kids or elder care obligations. The home environment might be conducive or not as conducive to working. So flexibility is key. Secondly, being empathetic. So really understanding the individual challenges faced by each employee that they might have and their colleagues, and being able to make adjustments on the business side, on the business goals, but also the individual performance measurement side of things too. And thirdly, being transparent. So I've seen a lot of companies do very, very well with being transparent. I guess as a CEO, being transparent about their financials and sharing that information and being very real about their position and leaning into that uncertainty. Whereas once they might have shied away from it, but what's been really interesting is it's led to a lot greater employee loyalty in this time, which is obviously very needed. And it's also increased their own motivation and productivity at the company. And lastly, I would say just being more vulnerable, as I mentioned before, that leaders they need to be more real in this time and sharing more personal details of their lives, being honest about how they're feeling helps other, their direct reports or other employees feel like they're not alone, and also that their manager understands them.
Right. And Alexandra, you mentioned employee loyalty. What are executives saying about employee engagement during this time?
So what I've seen, which has been really interesting, is just a continuing and increasing investment in employees. So whereas you might think that companies would be pulling back from investing in their own company because they're worried about finances, what I've seen actually is that they've been increasing their budgets in these areas and not cutting it in the culture and employee engagement space. I think that the companies are really seeing the value of doing that, and so seeing that boost in also employee well-being and how that impacts productivity. So, looking at it, I guess for an example, one of the companies that I'm working with has just started a culture Slack channel, and a culture committee. So, they're based actually both in Australia and the US, but they're starting to do even more, 360 feedback and culture surveys. And I think because what they're realizing is just that linkage between culture and recognition and employees in staying engaged while they're working from home is so strong. So that's been really great. And I think, another thing that's helping them is just stay connected too. So it's just another way to stay connected with the executives and their employees.
Sure. And for employees, what are the current professional development opportunities for those employees looking to develop their careers?
So a few things here. I would say one is now your online presence on Zoom. So learn how to present yourself. I know when this first happened, I had a lot of executives actually needing to understand how to now take their board presentation online. So that was really interesting. So I think that someone at any level is something really to look at. Secondly, is use this time to upskill on your own management skills. So emotional intelligence, developing empathy, those inside type skills that we don't often make time for. In those other times, see if you can make time for that. And lastly, use it also to upskill on your own job related skills. I've had a lot of the companies I'm working with, people, it might not even be company led, but the employees using that time to do that extra learning that they want to do, and then being able to share that with their team.
Sure, that makes total sense. And Alexandra, just to close, whilst you've been sheltering in place there in San Francisco over the last few months, can you leave us with something you've learnt, either about yourself or your husband or your clients, to share with our alumni audience?
Yeah, thanks, John. Well, I feel like I've been really enjoying the benefits of working from home, and just enjoying some time to be still and notice those things that I honestly wouldn't normally do because I'd be so busy rushing from one place to another. Some of the things, being springtime here, I guess, seeing a lot of the flowers come out around the area, and being able to see some of the wildlife. So some of the whales in the San Francisco Bay Area, some of the even some pelicans and hummingbirds, and that's been really lovely because I feel like I probably wouldn't normally take time to smell the flowers and see that beautiful nature all around.
Yes, well, taking time to smell the flowers is a great way to close out this Connections for Change interview. So thank you again, Alexandra, for giving us your perspectives in what you're seeing on the ground in the Bay Area.
It's a pleasure, John. And to all our alumni out there, I hope you're safe and well.
Indeed. And thank you to our Monash alumni community for your insightful questions.